Hi, my name is Andrew Whelchel from Saviynt. Thank you for joining. Today, we are going to focus on problem statement number 7 on how to accelerate the CPCE to the hybrid cloud with zero trust identity and attribute access. The CPCE, the Command Post Computing Environment, is a computing environment that takes traditional elements such as data analytics in the data center, forward components, and forward cyber field sensors. The CPCE is able to consolidate these elements and present as computing environment and potential hybrid cloud for the forward operating unit audience. The CPCE provides a great platform. There's room for improvement. It has the infrastructure, but what is missing? What is missing is a single converged platform to support joint interoperability data, an ability to cloud scale for capacity in the hybrid model, and the capability for ease to implement, maintain, and support the environment, even without remote service requirements. As we're able to add in these things, we can see several outcomes, including reducing cyber risk, having increased in mission agility, meaning to pivot mission requirements quickly, and provide an acceleration organization speed, meaning to move digital capabilities into field and out much faster. To offer these capabilities, the CPCE has to solve for multi-access data challenge. This challenge is about being able to extract out and present the right information to the right role, along with identity controls to ensure it is operating with the least privilege in accessing the data. In this scenario, it has several operations occurring simultaneously, including having initial CPCE where it's deployed without support for SBU or SREL related application access, for data where data for application transforms for brigade staff access, and access to needed data for brigade staff is limited by identity authorization. And also where data transforms for battalion staff access for applications, and access to needed data for battalion staff is limited by identity authorization. Now, this is how to solve it, or the path to solve it. The solution for this challenge is a two-layer set of components. The first being to provide a core identity zero trust controls, and the second to transform and present the data in alignment with identity attributes allowing access to the data. ICAM is the foundation for understanding identity and cyber risk, and applies to this challenge here as well. In this scenario, we start with a common understanding to reduce cyber risk by having identity being split between ensuring least privilege and identity access, including authentication and MFA to the data. Providing least privilege for zero trust to the data via authorization attributes ensures the users accessing the system have the minimum required access, but also can rapidly get access when needed. Delivering identity access in this model complements least privilege by ensuring the user is strongly validated and includes risk data in building the access token. The access token in this case is a digital key ring holding the key to get through the door to access the resources that they have least privilege to. Implementing least privilege both has the impact of providing continuous compliance as well as bringing about a key part of zero trust architecture. Points in this solution where the risk reduction occurs for least privilege happens in 3 different ways, including where having changes in user status drives compliance review and risk assessment and possible recertification. Changes in user access configuration, entitlement updates, forces analysis to determine segregation and duty and high-risk mitigation options. External and insider cyber threats sensed from zero trust sensors signal to force a cyber recertification and mitigation operation. Key to zero trust and reducing risk for the CPC environment as well is the conditional access approach for identity access. In this, we are applying both secure authentication via CAC or other means, as well as applying risk attributes including those from least privilege risk concerns, to determine a dynamic level of access to resources. It is this flow that produces the access token that is taken to provide the user validation to the other applications, such as the CPCE data Power BI application we'll discuss later. The second part of solving for the multi-access problem for the CPCE is a flow to access the data itself for presentation to the joint interoperability environment, as well as maintaining least privilege access throughout the process. Bringing the new capabilities to the CPCE is a combination of enabling new capability for access, as well as maintaining the least privilege for risk reduction. To describe the means to get at the data, we do several things, including having an analytics component. Power BI in this case is a user experience platform that presents the data directly to the user in their local security environment. As the analytics platform requires different data, it requests this through an API gateway. The API gateway is a front-end endpoint for the back-end APIs that both allows consolidated location for the APIs with security checks, as well as providing one location to route requests from analytics platform to the correct API location. The functions of service cloud hybrid service, example, Azure Functions, is a serverless service that gets the request from the API gateway and processes the specific function required in the call as it processes it specifically for a function of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The processing of the function of service here is required as a cross-domain data security action to allow the original data component to reach the joint interoperability environment of the CPCE. As this is built out, we have a parallel process to ensure correct and speed to mission access to the data attributes that enable access to the data described already. The flow for this is the request is captured for scenarios where the user does not already have authorization to an attribute. As an example, this might show a 403 error requiring access. The 403 error might be rerouted automatically to the attribute request function where a user can request the limited set of attributes or roles needed for the mission data. When the user gets rerouted or goes to the requesting system, Saviynt in this example, the user lands on an easy to use experience to request the minimal amount of attributes for data access, possibly through roles, to ensure least privileged access. As the request is completed, it quickly moves to approving authority for attribute access. The approving authority could be an operations officer or someone else that is designated, has visibility to identity risk for consideration of either granting access immediately or providing a mitigating control, such as limiting access based on time. As soon as that approval completes, the least privilege access process updates the attributes directly to ensure access for the user for their needed role and the access. With authorization complete, the access synchronization is updated as well that forces a review of risk to ensure segregation duties and other identity risks are not a concern. Though initially authorized for access, there is ongoing cyber threats and states of role change where identity risk should be reevaluated. In this stage, there is a discrete evaluation of zero trust access risk during changes of roles for users, such as changing job roles, as well as constant input of cyber threat signals to trigger a possible risk evaluation and change of access action. In addition to understanding the flow of the user experience, it is valuable to understand how a solution is built to create the outcomes discussed here. In the CPCE, we start with the entire stack existing and certainly to connections to the DOTN. In addition, we would maybe expect a connection to another infrastructure as a service, such as Microsoft Azure through ExpressRoute. For this solution, we expand this to include additional services on the Azure cloud, including Saviynt on Azure and Power BI. We also extend this through Azure Stack, capabilities that enable additional components needed for the hybrid operations, including Saviynt, hybrid image, Azure API Gateway, and Azure Functions. By connecting these elements together and by operating with the integrations and flow discussed just a few minutes ago, it enables the joint interoperability access to the brigade and battalion staff to the CPCE data, which was noted as a key milestone for success and future needs of the CPCE. I want to thank you for joining the session today. If you have any questions, we're at booth 203, and please do email for any additional questions as well at the contact below if you have them. Again, thanks for joining and hope to see everyone at AFCEA Technet Augusta 2021.